Welcome back to another episode of the Barca Breakdown YouTube channel. My name is Yusuf, and I'm here with my co-host Adam. Take it away.
Hey guys, yes, thank you, Yus. Well, we're coming here with the Riqui Puig video, guys, because we know he is a fan favorite, but also can be quite a controversial player, right? In our last video, we talked a little bit about whether or not Riqui Puig was the right fit to put into the Atletico game, that 0-0 draw, and you know, we got some comments telling us that Riqui Puig is, you know, a La Masia talent, which is undeniable, and that he has a profile that we need, which I think, you know, he has some extreme positives we'll go over in this video to talk about. But just to clarify, our point was mainly that in that moment, in a season in which Riqui Puig hasn't played a tremendous amount, in the biggest game of our season, right, because a win against Atletico would have really, really helped us out, although, you know, hint, hint, we're making this video after the game against Levante, so turned out it wouldn't have been for nothing. But in such a big game, was it right for Riqui Puig to come in? Yus and I didn't think so. You know, even though he offers, you know, some great positives, at that moment with such little play, didn't make sense, right, Yus? So why don't we take it way back? Because everyone remembers that game against Atletico last season when Riqui Puig really made a statement. You know, his eyes were up the whole time. He was making forward passes. He has a real spark plug energy about him that I think people like, in that he was always running to try and get the ball back, and, you know, seemed to play really well with, you know, a lot of players on the team, and really distributed the ball forward in a way that we don't get from our midfield, and we haven't got from our midfield in the past few years, right? So, you know, after that Atletico game, there was a lot of hype about Riqui Puig and about what he could bring to the Barca team this season. And then we got Don Koeman coming in, right? So why don't you go over a little bit of the Koeman-Riqui Puig history?
Sure. So Ronald Koeman comes in as coach at the beginning of the season. He tells Riqui Puig that, you know, look, you're not going to have a position during this season. I'm not going to play you really. So maybe you should go on loan, get some experience, come back. Riqui Puig opts out of this, and he decides, look, I want to stay here. I want to work hard. This is my the place I want to grow. So he decides not to do that.
You know, one thing I would say is, you know, as we talk about the positives for Riqui Puig, I think that narrative there, that Riqui Puig, when Koeman told him he wouldn't play that much, decided to stay, decided he wanted to prove himself,
of course,
decided that he wanted to show his commitment to Barca, really emphasizes the fact that, one, he loves this club, right? I think no one out there doubts that Riqui Puig is, you know, a true Barcelona player, and that he has confidence in himself, which I really admire, right? I mean, you know, as we've gotten to the end of the season and we've seen some of these games where people on the team don't seem that enthusiastic, and it seems ever since the international break that we've kind of lost the level. You know, even today when we put in Riqui Puig against Levante, sure, he didn't have the greatest performance because he only got 6 minutes at the end of the game, but he was out there running his, you know, backside off, and he was really putting in energy. And so I think, you know, kind of one of those intangible Riqui Puig has is that, you know, he has this love for the club and this belief in himself, and that it's going to work out at Barca that, you know, I think we should acknowledge and
of course
appreciate.
And I think, you know, coming off of that, I think as his positive attitude was wonderful, there was a time in December in which Koeman had called Riqui Puig a leak, and so that created some maybe bad perception in Koeman's mind. And then there was also some reports about him during training. I'm not sure, it was something about a bad attitude or whatnot, but you know, who knows really what's going on. I've Google searched a ton of this stuff, and there's really not a lot of reporting on this. There's just not enough reports, discussing or interviewing anybody. I can't find too much. But
I mean, one thing I do remember Koeman saying is he said that, you know, Riqui needs to improve in a lot of ways.
Yes,
the rhythm of the ball, his physique, his competing, and you know, he said something that Koeman brings up a good point, right? Is that Riqui Puig needs to be more physical, and that, you know, that's something he can work on, which we also, you know, have to acknowledge, right? Riqui Puig is a very small player. Of course, people like Messi and Xavi are small and still, you know, are able to obviously become some of the greatest of all times. And so, even though Riqui Puig, you know, has something to work on, I think Koeman there does bring up a good point. And, you know, as we kind of look through the season, Puig did get some opportunities to play, but it was really limited, right, Yus? I mean, he played against Dynamo Kiev. He played, I think, against the Turkish team. He played against Juventus, right? But all of those were like 25 minutes, 24 minutes. In terms of his big appearances this season, right? Granada versus Barcelona back in January, 17 minutes. Against Rayo Vallecano, he had 68 minutes. And then, against Alaves, when we won 5-1, he did get a full 90. But, in the grand scope of the whole season, Riqui Puig really didn't play that much. And I think if we look at kind of what makes people upset about the situation, one is that it seems Koeman has some sort of, personal beef. I think by now you guys should have seen the Levante video in which we talk about Mingueza, how after he had that whole spat with Koeman, it seems like Koeman kind of froze out Mingueza. And so, part of the situation here that I think needs to be understood is that it does seem like Koeman will freeze out players because of a personal beef, which I think kind of leaves a bad taste in our mouth because he's supposed to do whatever is best for the team. And then I think the other big thing with Koeman is that, okay, let's say you don't think Riqui Puig is should be an always starter, always coming off the bench. I mean, with the way we saw Pedri really not improve in the second half of the season and the way he's become so tired and frankly, a lot more ineffective than he was at the beginning of the season, I think it's clear that other midfielders should have gotten a chance. And if you look down the pecking order, right, there's really Ilaix, who had that awesome game where he scored a goal and had some assists to Messi, but overall, he's proven ineffective ever since his first 2 or 3 games. You look at Pjanic, who I agree with Koeman. Pjanic is not good enough to play. That really leaves you with Riqui Puig as the guy who should have been subbing on for Pedri some more times throughout the season. Maybe should have taken some appearances from Ilaix. And so, when you look at the end of the season, and I don't think we're going to win La Liga now that we drew with Levante. I mean, it really seems like we just did an awful job of rotating, and that's on the coach. And Riqui Puig is a big part of that story.
Yeah, to add to those points, and I want to bring in a quote from Koeman himself. He says, in that position, being midfield, there's a lot of competition, but maybe in training he doesn't do enough to make the coaches change his way of thinking. These days it's not just about quality, you need many other things too. Now, as you're saying, what is Riqui Puig doing that doesn't meet those qualifications, right? And I want to add that Riqui Puig, with his positive attitude, wanting to stay at Barcelona, prove his worth, work hard. He's also came in the Supercopa and stepped up to be the 5th man to take the penalty shot to win that game and scored it, and confidently, even though he wasn't getting any play time, that he did those things, right? He knew that, his team needed him. They needed a 5th goal scorer for the penalty shootout, and he stepped up. He did it. He took it on himself. He said, maybe I haven't been getting those minutes. Maybe I haven't been having enough time on the pitch, but I'm going to do what my team needs me to do and step and do those things, right? And that quote from Koeman doesn't really agree with the actions of Riqui Puig here. I don't know what he's really referring to in training. Is he saying that Riqui Puig doesn't work hard enough? I don't know. His attitude doesn't match that kind of thinking.
It would be hard to think that's true with how he plays, right? I mean, Riqui Puig is always a spark plug. You look back to the Barca Alaves game where we won 5-1. You see Puig and you see the attributes about him that a lot of people like, right? He got a full 90 minutes in that game. His eyes were always up. He was playing, one touch passes, 2 touch, 3 touch. He was dribbling with the ball, right? I mean, the good thing about Puig is that he's always covering a lot of ground and he's always looking to bring the ball forward, which is a skill we haven't had in midfielders for so long. And so I definitely understand where people come from when they want to see more Puig, right? It seems like he has that real quote unquote Barca DNA in him, and that, he's looking to play, an offensive game, whereas, we get a little bit stagnant in some of the games under Koeman and Setien and Valverde. And so, on the merits of Puig and his performance, not just the fact that he's a La Masia talent, I mean, he has the skills that we miss, right? How many times this season have we been talking about there's a disconnect between the back line and the front 3 or the front 2? We talk about it almost every game where we draw or lose. And so, I think Puig's player profile really fits something we need. But at the same time, there have been games where he hasn't performed well. I mean, I definitely remember Betis versus Barca. I think that was also in February. Puig was partnered with Busquets and Pjanic, which is really an awful midfield, I think, because Pjanic and Busquets weren't at the time offering much offensively. And, Puig kind of fell flat. And, he didn't play that well, and he got a lot of criticism after that game. And so, I think it has to be a nuanced discussion. At the one time, acknowledging that Puig, if he got more minutes and was able to develop his play, he could really bring things to this team that we need. And at the other end, I think something we haven't talked about is Koeman, and how this whole season, he's basically been skating on thin ice, and how every game has felt like a final. And so he's kind of got locked in this mentality of playing the same team every game, which dooms him, but at the same time saves him from criticism because he's always putting out what he thinks is the best 11.
Yeah, I mean, it's really hard when you're going against kind of an idea that if I don't perform well and I don't, I take risks sometimes, that it's going to bite me in the rear end here. But we've seen time and time again that Koeman has those opportunities to make, he played Ilaix he subbed Ilaix when Busquets got hurt against Atletico. That is, it's a slight risk. Ilaix is not super seasoned. He didn't perform very well in that game.
No.
Right? Why is Puig on the other end not getting any playtime anywhere else, even in these smaller games? We started off this podcast saying, let's clear the air here. None of us have ever said, or either one of us have never said, we don't think Puig is someone who can come out and make a change in the game. We just are saying that, look, he hasn't had that time. We wish he would have, but he didn't. So it's kind of hard to say as a coach, or even in my head as a coach, you would say, okay, go ahead, Riqui Puig, and save us the game here, Yeah. So, taking risks, I think Koeman is a little stagnant, and I think he's trying to do what Valverde kind of did and have predictable lineups. We see that it doesn't work too well, especially coming against teams that decide that they're going to change up their lineups to play against Barcelona. They're going to bolster their defensive line. They're going to prevent Messi from scoring. Sometimes we need a different change of pace. We need to increase a wild card. Mm-hmm.
What we saw, right, especially in that Clasico, is Zidane just knew what to do to defeat the team we were going to put out. And there was no chance that there was going to be some surprise element. And maybe Riqui Puig in some of these games, Granada or this Levante game, could have added a spark if we put him in a little bit earlier. And I think sometimes we are a little bit harsh on Riqui Puig, just because there's this toxic social media of half the people are like, Riqui Puig needs to play every game. Half of them are like, stop saying Riqui Puig needs to play every game. And so sometimes we fall on the side of, hey, we haven't seen Riqui Puig that much, so he shouldn't be given game time in big games. But at the same time, I really do hope we get to see Riqui Puig play a lot more next season and get to see him develop his skills and get more comfortable with the team in these big games.
Yeah, my last comment is, Koeman has shown that he is choosing to play some of these young players. If he had Fati, he'd be playing Fati. He's been playing Ilaix. He's been playing Pedri. He played Trincao a few times, right? Dest included. It's not like he isn't deciding to give these people time, these young players time, but he is clearly making a decision not to play Puig. So that's something I hope to see change, give him a chance. But, to end that, I think that I hope you guys are happier with our little breakdown of Riqui Puig. We hope to see him.
Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. We really appreciate you guys coming in. Let us know your thoughts below about Riqui Puig. And let us know what you think his role will be in the team next season. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys.